I'll take the last 30 seconds if you'll yield to me, which I take it you just did. We yesterday sent a letter to Director Ash asking for a copy of the data that you were just talking about. We'd hope that we can get that from the Fish and Wildlife Service in the time that was requested from that letter. So I appreciate that.
Specific to the northern long-eared bat?
I believe so, yes. Okay. Thank you. It went out yesterday. Turn over to Ms. Tsongas. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Secretary Jewell, for appearing before the committee today. It's great to have you here. As your testimony has indicated, and I think it's important to reiterate, the Department of Interior has such a broad mission, playing a critical role in the lives of our constituents, whether it be managing our treasured public lands, overseeing development of U.S. energy supplies, serving as the largest supplier and manager of water in the West, and working closely with 566 federally recognized tribes. Interior also hosts over 400 million recreation visitors a year, many coming to my district. And as a result of these very broad activities, the department has quite an economic impact on our communities, contributing an estimated $360 billion to the U.S. economy and supporting jobs and activities in recreation, tourism, energy development, grazing, and timber harvesting. And today we are debating a budget proposal for $13.2 billion, which is actually $600 million less than what the department generates in revenue for the U.S. Treasury. And despite its broad mission, the Interior budget represents such a small percentage of the President's overall budget. So I want to applaud you for presenting us with a budget that not only meets the department's critical needs of today, but builds a strong foundation for the future. And we've already had comments on the draft 5-year program. In actuality, the new program opens 97 million more acres. Under President Bush, it was 183 million acres. Under the proposal, it will be 317 million acres. But included in that is a proposal to open lease sales in the Atlantic Ocean, where we currently have no oil and gas development. And I take exception to that. While the plan did not include areas off the coast of my home state of Massachusetts, we can be sure that a spill off the coast of Virginia or North Carolina would have serious consequences for our New England beaches and our commercial fishermen. And I strongly urge you to seriously consider removing the proposed Atlantic lease sale from the final 5-year plan. While I strongly disagree with the department's proposal for offshore oil and gas development in the Atlantic, I do want to applaud you for the successes in developing renewable energy on public lands. I read a great article in Time magazine this week about the Desert Sunlight Solar Farm in California's Mojave Desert, which is the largest solar plant operating on federal lands. With solar and other renewable energy sectors growing at such extraordinary rates, the prospect for renewable energy development on public lands is particularly exciting. As the article noted, prior to 2008, there were no solar projects approved on BLM land. Today, there are 29 approved projects, which contributed to the 86% job growth we have seen in the solar industry since 2010. I think that's quite a record. Can you describe how your department's budget request will help support the sustainable growth of renewable energy on BLM and other appropriate public lands? I think you've spoken about $100 million in the budget. Can you talk about how you plan to use it?
Thank you very much for your comments and your concerns. The money will be used to continue the permitting and environmental impact statements and so on, so that we can provide clarity on public lands to the areas that will be ripe for energy development, as well as the areas that we believe should be off limits because they've got higher values. So California Desert, we've done a tremendous amount of work. That needs to expand to other areas, particularly in the West on BLM lands. So the budget provides us with the resources to continue to be able to do that, to facilitate not just things like the solar farms, but also transmission, which of course is critical to get that energy to where the load centers are. So we would appreciate support for that in the budget.
Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time. I have another question. I'll do it in the next round.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gosar, 5 minutes.